Broadcasting from the Solo Studios here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, the center of North America on this little planet we call Earth, this is The Solo Show. This adventure features guest host, producer / voiceover guy for The Solo Show, Ken Little. And now, please welcome your host, a man who thinks that rock and roll is just a fad, Stan Solo!
Hello and welcome to the very first edition of The Solo Show. I am Stan Solo, and I'm here to tell you how you can be on The Solo Show as my co-host. But before we get to that, I'm going to introduce you to my editor-in-chief and my producer, Ken Little. Ken, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much, Stan. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be a part of this brand new adventure that we're taking off on here.
Yeah. Now, you're not a huge Disney fan per se.
I am a Disney fan. I'm a fan of the movies and I'm a fan of the products and that sort of thing. What I have never done, I'm a Disney neophyte in the sense that I've never been to any of the Disney parks or Disney tourist attractions anywhere in the world.
So you're the perfect guy to edit a Disney show.
I am. Yeah, I'm your man. You want something done that I have no experience? I'm your man.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, and it's something that I am fascinated by, and it's something that, as I've been involved with your other podcast, the Grand Circle Tour podcast, the little bit that I've done on that, I've learned a lot about the Disney parks, and I've realized that there are many things that I'd like to learn. And one of the things we talked about in the past was the possibility for maybe a show in future was let's plan a trip for Ken.
Yeah.
And something that's and we had talked about looking at what would be like the luxury trip if you win the lottery trip, and then what would be just a budget trip.
Okay.
And that's something that I find very interesting because, I'm probably somebody going for the first time, I'd probably want to do something sort of right in the middle there between the low budget hot dog version and then the steak and lobster grand tour. But you just recently came back from a trip.
Yes. I was actually went to Disneyland last month for D23 Expo and for Galaxy's Edge, first time visiting Galaxy's Edge in any park. And then just last week I came back from Walt Disney World. And wow, what a blast. You got to come out to these parks now.
I want to so badly. I really would like to. There's so many things I'd like to see. The one thing I always find with Disney parks is that there really literally is something for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And you've been telling me about this last trip you just took. Something you did for the very first time.
Well, it wasn't my very first time doing it. It was my very first time doing it at Walt Disney World.
At Walt Disney.
Yeah. I went canoeing.
Exactly, canoeing. I would never have thought of canoeing at Walt Disney World. That's the last thing I would have thought.
And you know what? I think there's a lot of people out there that don't even know you can go canoeing. Mm-hmm. You can go horseback riding. You can do archery. Mm-hmm. You could ride a Segway.
Oh, you see, and these sound fascinating. Tell me a little bit about the canoeing experience.
Yeah, so I did a Segway tour a few years back at Fort Wilderness. They do an off-road tour. When I was there, people were canoeing, and I'm like, hey, I want to go canoeing at Walt Disney World.
I want to go too.
Yeah, so I had that in the back of my mind, and that was about a year and a half ago. I did the Segway tour, so I thought I'm going to go canoeing next when I get a chance. So I had an off-park day, so I hopped on the bus to Magic Kingdom, took the boat to Fort Wilderness, and went to the bike shop where they rent out the canoes. And I was expecting it to be like a big lake, where a bunch of people were just kind of canoeing on a big lake, but it's not like that at all. It's way more adventurous than that. You can kind of go in a swampy lake river type thing, but there's no current. You don't have to worry about going upstream or anything like that. And it was super inexpensive considering Walt Disney price. $8.50 for a half hour. If you do a full hour, it's $13. And I was fully expecting that I'd be out there for a full hour. And I went right around the entire loop, and it took me a half hour. And I wasn't, pushing it the whole time. I spent more time trying to take pictures than I did canoeing.
Right. And that's the thing I don't think a lot of people think about. Like there's a lot of wildlife at Disneyland parks, and not the kind that are there at 5 minutes before closing at the end of night, but the kind of things like you're saying, horseback riding, and tell me a little bit about your experience, like the actual, getting the boat in. Like, first of all, does it have mouse ears on the boat?
No, there's no mouse ears, but you can wear your mouse ears. They're very stable. You don't have to worry about falling in. Because I thought I'd have to, get rent a locker or something to put my phone in. But yeah, I asked if anybody's ever tipped one of these canoes, and she said, no. The only way you're going to tip the canoe is if you want to tip the canoe. You can make it tip.
Right.
She says if you're going to be careful, you're not going to tip. So they give you like a laminated map to bring with you, like kind of like the route that you take, because there are branches off, there are areas that branch off, and I did get lost a couple of times, but I was able to backtrack and find my way. And you flip over the laminated map, and there's a big sign on the back, warning you about alligators and snakes.
Alligators and snakes. Oh my.
Yeah. So I kind of questioned about the alligators and snakes, and she says, "Oh yeah, no, we got something to take care of you for that."
Something to take care of you for that.
Yeah. So she gives
really
me
big bat.
Well, no. She gave me an air horn. So she says, this is for emergencies only. If you see an alligator, you see a snake, don't blow the air horn. But if they start to approach you or they get too hostile, then you could blow the air horn and
throw it at them.
Yeah, well, exactly. But that was my reaction too. I'm going to throw this thing at the alligator. And fortunately, I didn't see any alligators or snakes on my canoe trip. But don't let that deter you that there may be alligators and snakes, because I think it's very rare.
Oh, it's Florida, right?
Well, it's Florida, but it's also you're still on Walt Disney property. You're still, we're within the bubble. Not to say you're 100% safe within the Disney bubble, but I think it's rare. I don't think it's common.
And let's be honest. Disney theme parks have been around for 50 years now, and I would imagine that number one priority for them is the safety of their visitors.
Yes, it is. So the odds of seeing an alligator are very slim to none in these waters. Mm-hmm. It's more of a precautionary thing.
And one of the other things you talked about when we were talking about this previously off air was you got to ride in the new Sky Tram.
Yeah, the Skyway.
Skyway, thank you. Skyway.
Yes, the Skyway opened up as we're recording this yesterday to the general public. Of course, I came back last week. Kind of bummed when I booked a trip and I heard that they were opening the 29th. I was going to be home before then. But thankfully, I knew a cast member friend that was able to get cast member preview pass and invited me to come with his family on the Skyway. And boy, I got to tell you, this is now my favorite way of transportation at Disney World. I prefer these over to monorails.
One of the things I heard people talking about when they were talking about the Skyway, it is Florida. And it's like 100 degrees in the wintertime down there. So people are worried, is this going to be like getting into
a toaster?
A toaster.
Yeah. Yeah, I have heard them called toasters. Mm-hmm. Nothing could be further from the truth. Once you start moving, the breeze hits you, and it just swirls around the cabin. It's a cool breeze the entire time you're riding in it. Now, we did pause for a bit, and it didn't get uncomfortably hot while we were paused. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why it stopped, but it did stop for probably about 30 seconds. I'm not sure how comfortable they'll be if you stop for 5 minutes, or if somebody has to come to rescue you. But yeah, no, it was extremely quick, extremely smooth, and extremely quiet. Mm-hmm. Like after I got off the Skyway, I had to take the bus back to my resort, and man, it's so noisy, so crowded. It's you're waiting forever in line, and then when the bus comes, and it's not a fun experience riding the buses anymore. The Skyway is definitely the way to go, and thankfully I'm a Pop Century veteran. And Pop Century is like my home resort, and that's where one of the Skyway stops is at Pop Century. So I'm going to be staying at Pop for a while.
Now, for again, neophytes like myself who might be, listening for the first time, explain Pop Century.
Okay, well, there's 3 tiers of resorts. You got the values, the moderates, and the deluxes. So Pop Century is part of the value resorts. It's one of the least expensive resorts. Mm-hmm. It's not the least expensive resort, but it's one of the least expensive resorts. Mm-hmm. So for somebody going on a first time or on a budget, I would strongly suggest a Pop Century or an Art of Animation. Art of Animation's like a step up from Pop Century, but they're right across the river from each other. There's a bridge connecting the two of them, and they share the same Skyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if whether you're staying at Art of Animation, whether you're staying at Pop Century, you would take the Skyway to get to Hollywood Studios or Epcot, weather permitting.
weather permitting. Always.
Right. So if you have high, strong winds, I'm not sure what they do if there's lightning in the area. I'm assuming they're not going to run them.
It would seem reasonable, yes.
Yeah,
It would seem like a good target for lightning. It's something hanging 150 feet in the air.
Made out of metal.
Made out of metal. Probably not a good idea. You want to ride that.
Yeah. So the buses will still be going. And the other thing, too, is I get motion sickness extremely easy. Mm-hmm. So I was a little bit worried about the motion on these things. It didn't bother me in the slightest. No.
And one of the other things you talked about was, and this is something I must say really fascinates me, is the behind-the-scenes tour.
Yeah.
Pull back the curtain.
Yes. I did the behind-the-scenes tour. It's not a cheap tour, but it's 7 hours. It includes your lunch. You visit 3 parks. And you get to go behind the scenes at Epcot, at Magic Kingdom, and at Animal Kingdom. Mm-hmm. So we were able to kind of, we didn't have to go through the front gate. We went kind of behind doors, went underground in the underground tunnels. We went to the paint shop where they were making the signs and whatnot for, I'm fascinated with the signs at Walt Disney World, where they make the different signs or whatever they need to do. We went to the costuming area where they make all the costumes, the dresses for the princesses. As you people that may know me, they know I make my own shirts, and that was extremely fascinating for me. Was the costuming area? They have like a printer that prints fabric.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I know. And they whatever fabric they want to print, they print it right on site. All the costumes for Walt Disney World and I believe Walt Disney or Disneyland are all made at this shop.
Okay.
And you figure, what do they have? Like 7,000 members.
Yeah,
but no, they don't. Now, if you're, I'm not going to say a rack and file cast member, but if you're working in a custodial or you're working in attractions, whatever, those costumes are made overseas. They to the lowest bidder for
uniform manufacturers.
Yeah.
Sort of thing you'd see at your local Burger King or something. Like
yes,
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this costuming area, they make like Walt Disney World is the second biggest uniform supplier in the U.S. Mm-hmm. The number one being the U.S. Army.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't have thought that, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's a really cool place to visit. Then we also went to the area where they repair the ride vehicles.
Oh, I see. Now you have me. Now you have me. This is the part that I would give up my left arm to see something like that.
Well, you don't have to give up your left arm. No. You just go visit and pay a couple $100 and you get to go.
Exactly.
But yeah, so they repair the ride vehicles. So you kind of walk through there and you get to see they were working on when we went on one of the Slinky Dog roller coasters.
Cool. They
were working on the race cars for the race car ride.
the new Tron attraction, right?
No, it's down right now because they're working on the Tron. They're building the Tron attraction. Mm-hmm. So while they're down there, they're working on all the cars. Yeah, so it's extremely interesting. And then we went to Animal Kingdom where we went behind the scenes to the Rivers of Light, Nighttime Spectacular. Mm-hmm. And they had these floating barges. So we got to get right up close to them. It was really cool to see. They brought us how these nighttime barges work. They're completely unmanned. I always thought there was just guys paddling, riding boats, but no, they're run by satellites and they're completely remote control, computer programmed where they go and when they spray their water and everything like that. What was really neat was during Hurricane Irma, I guess a lot of the leaves fell off of the Tree of Life. And Ken, if you're not sure if you're familiar with the Tree of Life,
I am.
Okay,
I am. I do know the Tree of Life.
Okay, so some of the leaves fell off of the Tree of Life, so they had these leaves that they collected, and that's where they were storing these extra leaves. So we got to kind of hold the leaves. They're huge, like the size of your palm, and they're thick, hard plastic. I mean, you don't want one of these things falling on your head, I don't think.
I would think no. And maybe you want to slip one of those inside your jacket there.
I was tempted.
Tempting, isn't it?
It is tempting.
Yeah, but then Mickey's waiting for you at the door going, I don't think so.
Now, the only thing was you couldn't take any photos in the backstage area.
Right.
Or videos, obviously. But I really enjoyed that tour. It was one of the best tours I've ever done.
Mm. Well, that to me sounds fascinating because that's the part of it I think 99% of the public will never experience. You go there and you see the rides and you see the princesses in costume and you see the whole finished product. But you don't see is the hours and hours and months and years of work that goes into getting it to that stage. And having watched videos online and people's, YouTube videos and that sort of thing, even just their vacation videos where they go, oh, look, hey, this is gorgeous. you don't really get that sense of the amount of people that are involved and the amount of work that goes into doing this enormous production 7 days a week.
Well, yeah, like you think, like you take even like the Festival of Fantasy Parade, how many people are in that? So the costuming department had to make all those costumes.
Right.
And not only do they have to make all those costumes, they have to make extra costumes in case something happens to the original costume.
Right.
You know, or one's being cleaned or whatnot.
Right.
So yeah, it's an unbelievable. It's a city. It's a city. It really is.
Yeah, a city within a city. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a massive undertaking. I think a lot of people don't think about that as being a part of the whole Disney experience. I think most people tend to think of, let's go on the swirling teacups, let's go on the Art of Animation ride, and so on and so on. They don't stop to think about just what goes on, just behind that door there, with that door that says employees only.
Yeah.
And it's something I think if you ask 99% of the people that have been to Disney World and Disneyland and all the experiences, have you seen it? And if you ask them, they would probably say, no, I haven't, but boy, would I like to.
Yeah. And the Backstage Magic Tour, as well as the Keys to the Kingdom Tour is another good one too. The Keys to the Kingdom Tour only stays within Magic Kingdom though. You do get to see the underground tunnels and you kind of get to go behind the scenes a bit more, but the Backstage Magic is nearly the entire tour you're backstage.
Right.
Yeah.
And that to me, see now, if I was going to go, my very first trip, I would probably want to start with something like that. Just because I'm the guy that used to sit and take apart the alarm clock, to see how it works before you actually set it. And something else I've always been fascinated by is the amazing diversity of things that you can actually do. Like you're talking about horseback riding and canoeing and Segway rides. And I think a lot of people tend to get lost on waiting in lines for a $10 hot dog and this sort of thing. And you do tend to forget about the fact that there are so many other things that you can actually do at Disney World and Disneyland and all of them. And let's not forget that these things are out there, and that's maybe one of the goals as we segue. Maybe that's one of the goals of what we want to do on this show. And maybe we should actually take a few minutes now and sort of look at what do you and I want to get out of doing the solo show.
Yeah.
You're going to do most of the talking. I'll be the guy in the background going, all right, you got another 30 seconds there to stand. And that's fine. But the thing of it is I think this is a good opportunity now. We've sort of gotten to that point where we can start giving people the opportunity to maybe talk about their experiences.
Yes.
At Disney World.
Yes. The whole point of the solo show.
Right.
Is that I'm not going to be solo.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Which, if you think about it, but no, exactly, is that we're giving not only people like myself, who is a neophyte, but people that have a lot of experience like yourself, who've been many times, to talk about their experiences. But there's more than that we want to get from this.
Right.
We want to talk to the listeners about your top 10 list. What are your top 10 favorite restaurants at Disney?
Yeah. So if you want to be on the show, you have to come up with a topic, basically.
Right.
Right.
That's the only rule.
That's the only rule. And the other rule is it has to be a Disney topic.
A Disney topic, right.
Yeah. So how do they what type of topics would they come up with?
Oh, there's plenty if you think about it. I mean, talk about your favorite Disney movies, whether you prefer the classic animation to the new live action remakes. There's several of them now. Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, and Mulan's coming out later on this year, and so on. There's so many topics about Disney. I mean, if you sit here and think about it, I could do another half hour just listing topics what we could be doing here. But nobody wants to listen to that. And let's take a few minutes here now, and let's not only breach the subject of what they can talk about, but how they can join us.
Right. So if you want to be on the show and you want to co-host and sit in the co-host chair, there are a couple of things you have to do. Well, first of all, we record using Zoom, Zoom.us. It's free to use for you. I mean, I pay the subscription for it, or the Grand Circle Tour, and I do. You never know. It might end up being...
It might be just you eventually.
Currently, I'm working with the Grand Circle Tour podcast, and we're splitting the bill on this. But you can email myself and Ken at thesoloshow01@gmail.com. That's thesoloshow01@gmail.com. And let us know you want to be on the show and what your topic is. And What else? That's about it.
That's about it. As far as getting you on the show, we're looking forward to talking to people about not just their experiences at Walt Disney World or Disneyland or the rides. Maybe you have a topic you'd like to talk about the upcoming Star Wars films, or maybe you'd like to talk about Disney merchandise.
Yeah, or
that would be a fascinating show.
Or if you just came back from a trip and something extraordinary happened and you want to talk about that, or you did a new experience, or what I like to do too is do a two-parter where we record the first part before you go, and then record after you come back, and we'll combine that into one show. What do you think?
I think that would be fabulous. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, then we could kind of talk about how your trip went.
Right. What were your expectations? And then on the second half, did they meet your expectations? Did you do better than your expectations?
Yeah, exactly. I really enjoy those type of shows. Top 10s are always very popular. If you're an expert at a certain attraction or a certain event or a certain whatever, you know Haunted Mansion better than anybody, and you want to come and tell us about it, send us an email, let us know that you're the Haunted Mansion expert and you want to talk about the Haunted Mansion.
And two, if you're maybe somebody who recently wrote a book about Disney, talking about Disney animation, or like I say, Disney merchandising, the little pop vinyls, maybe you're somebody that makes the little pop vinyls.
Oh,
artists, we'd love artists.
I love artists.
Want to talk to the artists. If you're somebody that's building, making models and making, maybe you're a Lego artist and you've come up with a 7-foot-tall Goofy Lego statue. We want to know about that.
Yeah. And if you have your own podcast and you want to plug it, that's great. You can come on and plug it. But let's not just talk about your podcast. Let's find a topic to talk about as well.
Right.
Because to talk about the Disney Wonder podcast for whatever, half an hour, could get pretty boring. You want to have interesting topics.
And I would think that other podcasters who have their own shows maybe would want to have you on, and vice versa. And this is a great opportunity for everybody, for us at this end, to learn other things that maybe we don't know. I doubt there's anything you don't know, because you make your own shirts. But like for myself, one of the things I can say, the little bit of work I've done for you with the Grand Circle Tour podcast, and now moving into the solo show, I've learned a lot about Disney, and not just the rides and not just the attractions, but the movies. And I actually considered myself a real Disney fan. I mean, I bought all the VHS when they came out, and I've got tons of the DVDs and the music and everything like that. I've learned so much listening to the podcasts, working with you, and this, I think, is a great opportunity not only for people to come on and talk about things that they want to talk about, but maybe they can take something away too. They may talk to you and say, I didn't know that. Just like you were saying, being able to go canoeing.
Yeah.
That's something that would never have crossed my mind. And that's hopefully what we're going to get from people.
Right. And the other thing too is equipment. Having your own PC, having your huge expensive microphone isn't a number one priority.
Hardly. You
could use your phone and your earbuds that come with your phone, as long as you have a microphone attached to them, and that makes good sound too.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to go out and invest $500 in a studio setup. You don't have to go out and buy a Mac, and you don't have to go out and buy, if you've got a cell phone that's got a halfway decent input jack and a good pair of earbuds, you're 90% of the way there.
Right.
90% of this is your personality.
Yes.
The other 10% with the microphones and that sort of thing, well, that's my job to fix that.
Yeah.
That's my work. And that's what we want.
Yeah.
We want your personality.
A good internet connection is kind of important.
That's okay. We'll give you that too. Yeah, we can't, you don't want to put the hamsters on the wheel for that one. You want something a little better than the little goat in the background. But that's what we want to get from it.
Yes.
And what I personally want to get from it is the opportunity to learn a little bit more about our listeners, to learn a little bit more, and for myself, and maybe somebody else that's thinking about maybe doing some podcasting and is a little bit hesitant. This might be a good opportunity for you to sort of dip your toe in the water.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Who knows how many shows might come out of this show?
Yeah. You could be the next Norman Lear. You could be promoting, you're the next All in the Family, Maude, Good Times. All of a sudden it all came from the Grand Circle Tour podcast.
And the person listening might be the next Lou Mangello.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is, I don't know.
I
don't know Lou Mangello.
I call him like the godfather of Disney podcasting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like the.
I told you I'm a Disney neophyte.
Yeah.
I admit it freely.
Yeah.
But I think that's I think we've given people a good idea. We'll say it one more time, the solo show 01 at gmail.com. Drop us an email. Let us know if you've got a topic for the show. Let us know what you're interested in talking about. And like we say, if we think it's a good topic and if it's something that we think is going to make for an interesting show, you'll get an email back from one of us, and we'll set up a date, a time, and if you have any questions or want to know any details about what you need as far as podcasting equipment or anything like that, we can certainly steer you in the right direction, and let's make this happen.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I am too. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And I think, having said that, I think it's time to say, take it away, me.
If you have a brilliant idea for a topic and would like to be a guest host on a future solo show, then drop us an email at thesoloshow01@gmail.com. Tell us your idea for a topic for the show, and we'll contact you about a date and time for you to join us as a guest host. If you would like to comment on a current show or want to keep the conversation going, then visit us on Facebook at The Solo Show, on Twitter at TheSoloShow1, or on Instagram at _solo_show_01. And be sure to join us again for the next adventure on The Solo Show. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.